I love this, guys. After the pandemic and all the streaming and no faces, this has been so amazing to see your faces. Thank you for making the trek out and through the traffic. And for those of you at home, don't worry, you should be here, but come on. It's good. We have a great group here. I hope you can make it at some point, but definitely glad to have you in the audience today and so excited to have our guests today. So I'm going to introduce you to them. To my left is Cynthia, and Cynthia Murga is the Director of PR and Social Media at Insperity, and she is a communications professional with more than 10 years of experience. She specializes in public relations and social media marketing, and she is pretty cool. She does this job, and I have heard from her boss, or from her colleague here next to her, not necessarily her boss, but Dana Zambon, that she does great. So Dana Zambon is the Marketing and Brand Communications Manager at Insperity, so they work closely together with some of the content. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too, which is why I wanted Dana here as well, because I don't think that social media really should exist in a vacuum in a company. And most of the time at this point it doesn't, but I know some people silo these things. And so I want to talk a little bit about that today too. So yeah, welcome ladies. Cool. Oh, we can't do that. You're going to have to do this now. All right, cool.
Thank you for having us.
So those in the audience won't hear you otherwise. I'm sorry. We have to use the mic. So awesome. So I wanted to just jump right in and just ask you the first question, which is really, why LinkedIn? Why did you guys choose LinkedIn as your main channel? I think you have other channels too. So you can tell me that, like what other channels are you using as a company, but why LinkedIn for you?
So LinkedIn actually our most utilized channel for Insperity. We are a B2B, so Insperity is an HR PO, so professional employee organization company that offers services of anything that you can think of in the HR space. So as a B2B and as B2B marketers, we knew that LinkedIn was something that needed to be utilized more. When I joined Insperity about 1.5 years ago, and I learned of an amazing marketing team, including Dana and the rest of the team there, we realized that we could be doing so much more on the LinkedIn channels. As you may all know, LinkedIn is also considered a social selling tool. This is where our sales organization also can really impact the work they're doing and connect with audiences, prospects, clients, partners at a higher level than any other platform that is currently being utilized by Insperity.
Yeah, it's really good. And we're going to dig into that sales side of things in a minute because you've done some very interesting stuff there. So thank you for that. Yeah, what do you say, Dana?
I was just going to add to that, piggyback off what Cynthia said, to support LinkedIn as a big cornerstone of our strategy. There's some pretty compelling data out there. For example, I think Forbes, I can't remember the publication, but LinkedIn has been predicted that by 2024, it will account for 25% of all B2B ad spend. So that's huge. And then Hootsuite put out earlier this year a study that indicates that 4 out of 5 people on LinkedIn drive business decisions. Now, I'm sure that's, both key decision makers and influencers, but that's still pretty compelling. And the fact that, there's 58 million companies on LinkedIn. And so, yeah, that's among the compelling metrics that help us keep our finger on the pulse of that being a big part of what we do in social.
Well, I mean, and you are an HR company. So, I mean, it's long been thought that LinkedIn is like the resume, I guess, of workers. So it seems like, though, that you guys have gone a lot deeper than that. So could you talk a little bit about the strategies that you're starting to use on LinkedIn and sort of what your strategy is? What do you want to get out of it?
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because I think from the very beginning, LinkedIn was that, right? This is where you post your resume, connect with recruiters, figure out your next stepping stone in the career choice or the job that you want to go into. But it is so much more than that because of the way that it continues to evolve, even pre-pandemic and, of course, now post. But for the most part, the strategy that we're currently utilizing as a marketing team is two-pronged. So we are very heavily also involved in the advertising spend on LinkedIn because it's important to, target that niche audience, that segmented audience, as Dana mentioned, that we need to be in front of. And then, of course, the organic social. So organic social media is still very important to this day, even on a LinkedIn channel like even on a P2B channel like LinkedIn. It helps kind of just humanize the brand, really. And that's kind of the strategy approach that I took when I came on about, a year and a half ago, is how do we humanize an HR PO company to where, our audience and potential target niche segments will want to learn more about us, what we do, what are our services, but also our company culture, our employees. How do we treat them? How can we help you take care of your people by you seeing what we do at our company? So the strategy is two-pronged in that sense. We make sure that we are always utilizing content marketing material, thought leadership pieces. If we see something that is working organically, then how can we put money behind it? Or if it's an ad that we put on LinkedIn and we knew that it worked great, how do we take it, repurpose it, and use it in the organic way?
Yeah, that's great. Go ahead.
And I suddenly realize I'm becoming the statistics girl.
Oh, I think that's good. We need one of those today. No, tell us.
But
Tell
you
us.
know what? It's hard to argue with numbers, right? And so just again, in support of what Cynthia said as our strategy, LinkedIn published about a year ago a study that showed that page followers who are exposed to both paid and organic are 61% more likely to convert. And so, I think that it's a symbiotic relationship. You can't have a complete strategy one without the other.
Yeah, that's great. And I wanted to, did you have something else to add to that? I wanted to dig into the content side of it though, too, because I think that's really important. So I want to talk about your strategy around that. So you don't work in a vacuum, you work together. And I know that, Dana, you do a lot on the content side for the company overall. So how are you guys working together to kind of keep that content? What's the workflow like? Can you just give us an idea of the day-to-day on that?
So we work Insperity. We have our in-house marketing department, in-house agency. We're about 60 people, give or take.
Wow. Okay.
And we work in an agile team structure. So, very similar, that has its roots in IT and the Scrum stand-up daily meetings. We've taken it and repurposed it a little bit for the creative process, but the workflow is that we have daily check-ins, standing check-ins, where all of the different roles represented within our agency are there to really see, front and center on the Kanban board, what's the status of this piece? Okay, when can we expect it back from, the internal partner?
And Kanban, just so that we get in there, means just in time. So it's quick.
Absolutely. It's a dashboard of sorts that you have all of your work represented. And so the very nature of how we work lends itself to that consistency, that alignment, that continual communication, because we are there. Cynthia's social team is there represented, the content creators, designers, writers, we're all there. So we're collaborating. It's built in to how we work. And I think that makes it much easier to understand, okay, this is the content strategy. This is currently being created. How can we leverage that? How can we multi-purpose it and get the most bang for the buck? So there's constant collaboration.
Yes, and to piggy off of Dana for that, I want to say that, whenever we are in these meetings or just, conversating with each other and connecting, a lot of the times we are identifying, opportunities where maybe we didn't see at first. Maybe it's messaging that Dana and her team are working on that it was intentionally made for internal communications, but then my team comes in and is like, how can we make sure that we optimize it in an external way? So just finding ways that will just position Insperity in a way that, not only can we position the messaging internally, but also externally to our audiences, but working together. We find the opportunities come and happen when we're collaborating more that way. So working with the digital marketing team, the writers of Dana's team, and just creative, everybody just streamlining and really aligning on what that can look like on every channel that can be optimized, and that's kind of the direction we're going to.
And I'm going to dig into that as with a question. So you're meeting every day, like you're coming up, you're seeing the opportunities, because often I've been in companies where you suddenly are like, well, that's going on, like what? So I mean, that's very helpful. So that's number one. But are you working on a daily basis on content creation? Or are you like working ahead? So, you know, a lot of times with social media, we'll work ahead, like you'll have a month's worth of content ready to go. How do you handle that?
Yeah, it's just a little bit of both. I mean, for the most part, yes, we like to be proactive in the social PR space, right? And even in the digital content space. We like to identify topics ahead of time, whether it's every quarter. We are starting to figure out how can we do that more annually, to be quite honest. But as you may all have noticed in the HR space, trending topics happen constantly. New ones come up every day, every week.
Quiet quitting,
the Great Resignation, a little bit of everything pops up in between. But for the most part, we do try to proactively identify topics that, you know, we see are trending within our customer base as well. Identifying what those are within surveys that we're taking, and then also what the sales organization is hearing from prospects and clients. So proactive is our approach that we would like to move more forward with. But we understand that, you know, the course of how everything's evolving for content marketing and the social PR and then just digital marketing overall, you know, there's topics that come day to day or week to week.
Are you doing themes along that line too?
Yes. And so 100% everything Cynthia said and what you just said. So we do, we work with our internal partners, the different business units within the organization who we serve, to identify quarterly themes, we'll call them. For instance, we are pretty big in the middle market, private capital markets, private equity, VC space. And so, you know, working with, for instance, that team, and what are the quarterly themes? What do you see on the horizon that we need to be creating blog posts around and articles with our partner alliances? And so, yes, absolutely. Themes. And then in addition to that, like Cynthia said, you know, you've got the proactive, the plan in place, very strategic, but then there's always going to be a certain amount of what I call marketing triage, especially with a topic as you know, ever changing, ever evolving, and relevant as human resources.
Right.
So we have to do a
human capital.
Absolutely. So
yeah. So how do you tell me a little bit about how, Cynthia, how you repurpose the content that is being made, like for the blog, for the internal channels? I mean, there's just so much content, you know, emails that go out, and you know, you've got your internal emails. There's just so much communication. By the way, Dana, so good job on that. It's like a lot of work, and this is a lot of, and 60 people. I aspire. So for those of us that don't have 60 people, we work hard. I'm usually the bottleneck, by the way. Something that's on my desk right now that needs to be, sorry, Tori, that needs to be looked at. But yeah, so tell me how you're repurposing those things for your company.
Yeah, so great question. We do this a lot with our blogs and then organic social. So our blog writers are, you know, we're utilizing real SMEs for the company in our blog. So go to the website, shameless plug, read through the Insperity blogs, and you will see that we are
award-winning.
Oh yes, award-winning. We utilize so the real life SMEs, which we consider are subject matter experts.
Thank you.
The subject matter experts that we lean on are the actual employees that are in the day-to-day, right? So whether it's a service team member, district manager, anybody that's actually touching the work or touching the clients, will be who we ask that they can be part of the writing and the piece that we create. And once the piece is created and great messaging can be pulled from it, then we identify how can we utilize in the social space. Whether it's a carousel on LinkedIn, or a really fun graphic that will lead people back to the actual blog to read the whole messaging that we wanted to put out. It's just different ways. I think creatively, we're also exploring different ways that we can be more innovative in that space, right? So what are, you know, our audience looking for on LinkedIn? Is it carousels? Is it still images? Do they want a video? We just launched on Instagram, another shameless plug there, go follow us. Are we starting to create reels now that go back to the blog, the actual blog post? Because what we want is that 180 approach, right? So read the copy, click through the link, and go back to the website. Learn more about Insperity. How can we help you as a business owner, decision maker, and just kind of identify ways that those opportunities can really be optimized in so many different levels.
Yeah, and do talk about that. I know you have a big team, but like if you were just a single, sole proprietor or
Sure.
smaller business with a much smaller team, give kind of a workflow, because I think this can be done on any kind of organization. So could you give us a little taste of what you would do?
Absolutely. So yes, we are blessed to have a team of immensely talented writers and editors. And honestly, I am very fortunate because I trust them to go do great work, and they do. But when you are a smaller organization, I think what's key, you're utilizing freelancers maybe to a large extent. So you're managing those relationships. To me, the key to consistency in your content, regardless of who created it, whether it's in-house or you've relied on freelancers, is when it comes back into you, whoever created it, you've just got to make sure that an editor, or if in your case, or in a smaller company's case, if you're a sole proprietor, you know your business, you know your clients better than, let's say, freelancers who are providing that service to a number of different industries. So it's at that point critical to make sure whatever comes to you, is it on brand? Is the voice what it should be? Is it adhering to your editorial style guide? That, what I'll call QC from an internal perspective, is where the rubber meets the road on whoever created that content for you.
Yeah, and they can learn from that too, because you can feed back to them. So you can change
Absolutely.
it and say, oh, here's why I changed it and what I did.
Absolutely. Great point. I'm a big believer in not making edits for edit's sake. If I need to edit something, I've got a good reason for it, and I'm going to give you the rationale behind it, because I think that just sets everybody up for success and keeps everyone growing. And to your point, you do get to a point where you're not having to make those edits all the time anymore. You've got even if they're freelancers, you're building those relationships and they provide content for you on a regular basis, almost an extension of your in-house team.
Yeah, and that's great. So yeah, how does that work for you? Like as far as how do you feel you're being supported by that in your role?
Yeah, so we in our in-house agency, I do have 2 social media managers I work closely with. But knowing that Dana's team utilizes contractors to really just kind of support what we do on a bigger level is great for us, because this way we can understand how it is that they are providing the feedback, why the messaging needs to resonate with whoever it is that we're working with. And in turn, we need to make sure that it resonates with the audience that we're creating it for. Obviously, we take that messaging and repurpose it on a social level.
Mm-hmm.
As you all know, we can't have the exact same copy from a blog, right? Because it's not going to be the same. We have to be specific to the audience that we're talking to. How do we make sure that it's concise and condensed in a way that we can really repurpose it, that it's going to make sense for everybody? But kind of just getting back to that feedback that Dana and team are providing to the writers, whether they're in-house or contractors, then us seeing how that progressed from the initial write-up is really important for us. I do it all the time too with the vendors that I work with. I don't just tell them that that doesn't make sense, change it. No, we have to give them rationale behind it. They need to understand our voice, our tone, and really, the reasoning why we are making the changes that we're making.
And to piggyback on that, another thing that really makes that rationale important is, for example, if you're in an industry that is very regulated, HR being definitely one of them, oil and gas, energy, those kinds of things.
Healthcare.
100%. I mean, and honestly, probably the majority of B2B marketing, if we're being honest.
Well, even if it's not regulated, there's going to be some norms and rules
Absolutely.
that people will expect, right?
Absolutely. And that's where the
So,
legal team comes in,
yeah.
at least in a bigger organization. And so a lot of times edits are driven by, what we know we can and can't say, which
Mhm.
obviously someone who's not part of your internal organization, at least in the beginning, isn't going to be as familiar with that. So that's where that education comes in, and that good feedback and editing that truly positions them to keep creating content that, again, they understand that there's a certain way we speak to different things.
Mhm.
So, and that's in-house and externally, but of course your in-house writers are always going to have more of a feel for that.
Yeah, because they've been right in the middle of it. And while I'm there, to keep the mic, I'm going to throw a bomb at you that you're not going to expect. It's not that big of a deal, but everybody's talking about AI and having it replace a lot of these things for us. A lot of what you've been saying is very complex. I'm not sure if AI can do it. So talk to me a little bit
I'm
about
glad you asked
where you're
that.
at with AI.
I accept that bomb.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to take your Patrick Mahomes Hail Mary and run it into the end zone here, I hope.
Awesome.
So
Let's go.
Anyway, very timely question, but not very long ago, probably a couple of weeks ago, one of our strategic marketing directors reached out and said, "Hey, I just got this email from one of our sales team who basically used Chat GPT to generate a conversation and responses about what is a PEO, which, as Cynthia mentioned, in the HR space, that's a professional employer organization, which is what Insperity is. At any rate, he said, I thought these were pretty good answers, and they're and I'm not going to lie. I mean, from a factual standpoint, I was pretty impressed.
Mhm.
But as I read through that, I said, okay, this is a great starting point. This is a great foundation. They've laid the bones.
Mhm.
However, there's nuances missing. There's details and the human engaging element, the connection. I don't want to feel like everything that I read was written by, Encyclopedia Britannica. And I'm going to get bored with that real fast, no matter how factual it is. And when there's dry subject matter, you really have to be more engaging. So what I assessed from that and what I shared with him is, this is a great foundational element to maybe get the conversation started, or maybe create a basis for an article that someone's doing. But there's work to be done after that, in my opinion, only a human can do.
Yeah. I guess it came to me that question while you were talking about the nuances of even getting something back from a contractor and working through it and cleaning it up and like adding, like, when you read something, you're like, this is boring. We've got to you got to engage. And I think with Chat GPT, or not just that, but just the AI, any of the AI models that are out there, there's going to be more and more content because now everybody can do it, right? And it does help. I mean, it helps with grammar. It helps with editing. I think it's an excellent editor, actually. I think it's an excellent editor for just regular stuff like commas and periods and active voice. It's good at active voice. Like, rewrite this for active voice, take out all the that's, take out all the whatever. Anyway, that's a pet peeve. So, it does great with that, but it can't. So I was just, it made me think of that when you were talking about what you guys do, even with your contractors, which are humans, work. So.
I see it as a tool. I see it as a valuable resource that we can leverage to help us create content at scale, maybe at greater scale. But I do not think it will ever replace good writers and editors. Now, I'm a little biased because I like having a job. But my point is, to your point, it's a great tool. And we need to harness it and really learn how we can benefit from it versus being intimidated by it or threatened by it.
Yeah, we're going to actually do a chat kind of workshop in the fall to teach you guys how to use it. And by then we'll have a lot, things have progressed. They will have already progressed even more. So we're going to be doing a couple more workshops at Social Media Breakfast. In fact, next month, we will do a LinkedIn profile workshop. So we're having you guys this week and then this month. And next month, On your table, there's like little, you can scan and sign up for it, but we're going to bring our laptops and actually get your profile in shape. Tori's going to bring her awesome camera, and she's an amazing photographer.
Oh,
So if you
cool.
don't have a headshot, we'll get you one.
Valuable.
So we'll do that. But I just think that that's something that you can think about too, is that I think as writers and as communicators, I think there's some fear around what's coming. And so I think if we learn how to harness it, it's all in the prompts, which is also
Absolutely.
writing.
Absolutely. It's all in harnessing the power
Yeah.
of it.
Cool, cool. Thank you.
And we can own it.
Yeah, own it. So that being said, you spoke about sales teams. Why don't you tell us about your program that you've put together, the program that you're working with the sales teams? And because I'm going to tell you, the thing that I hate the most about LinkedIn is that somebody will like reach out to me, connect with me, and then send me all this. Do you need 10 or 15 more clients a month? I can help you. Oh no. Not your, and first of all, I would never have you speak to my clients, because if you speak to me this way, I would not want you speaking to them. Tell us about that.
So, so not only do we all work with our organic corporate social pages, but we support our sales organization, which, as you all know, is the biggest part of the Insperity and selling the services that we offer, finding the solutions to the challenges that a lot of our small, medium-sized, and even mid-market enterprise companies, clients are looking for. But when I stepped in about a year and a half ago, they were starting this pilot program that I really love, and it was an employee advocacy program on social media. And it was specific to LinkedIn because, as I said in the beginning, right, B2B space is, social selling is huge on LinkedIn. So how can we capitalize on that with our sales team? So we are able to really just support the sales team with identifying ways that we can make sure that they have the right topic and content that they want to put out on their LinkedIn channels. And this is everything from making sure that, my team identifies what are these categories, what is trending in the HR space now, what can we make sure that the teams and the sales organization are really well prepped for. So what we decided to do last summer was that as part of their onboarding, identifying what LinkedIn can do to help you in the sales organization was going to have to be a big part of that. So on their onboarding, not only do they learn about Insperity, our culture and what we offer, but we also train them in regards to what they can do on LinkedIn. And this is everything from, making sure that your profile is up to date, that your bio is not too long, not too short. We have made customized LinkedIn banners that are Insperity branded. This is the type of picture you should be posting if you're putting up a post about Insperity, or if you're tagging Insperity, how to tag Insperity, what hashtags to use when talking about the company, and then just really identifying ways that's going to really make them, look like the true experts they are in the space for Insperity. A lot of what we're currently doing too is helping them create like their own post, right? So because a lot of them come to us and they don't know what copy to create, what copy to write, which of the 10 pictures should we post? So giving them even guides. So our team is big on building guidelines on social, even sometimes social media toolkits, right? With the type of imagery that we recommend that you should be posting. If it's images that our in-house agency can create, that is branded and on brand guidelines, then we will offer that. And even suggested copy. But I will caveat that I always tell them, like, make the copy your own.
Yeah, change it up, right?
Change it up. I don't want to see like 10 of the same copy on the LinkedIn channel. But if they can make it their own tone and voice, and just, following the standard brand guidelines that we've built, can really help them. And we've seen success. I mean, the team now is over 800 sales professionals that are using the advocacy program. And they come to us whenever they have questions, whether it's simple as, hey, I don't know how to change my headshot picture, to, I really wanted to make sure that I can talk about this partner. What are your thoughts? So I want them to use us, the in-house agency, as a resource, that we are here to help you make sure that you can really close that sale and, really target that lead.
That's really powerful. And you use a tool, right? There's a tool that you use. Could you tell them about that?
So we use a Ready for Social tool, and that's a great partner.
Ready for Social.
Ready for Social. They're a great partner, a great vendor that we work with. We work really closely with them to not only help us with this content creation, but also with other executives in the company that are in the sales organization, making sure that we also help them get bigger and larger visibility on the LinkedIn channel, making sure that their copy, whatever they want to put out, is aligning not only with Insperity and elevating the Insperity brand, but also their own personal brand. So I'm a big advocate for your personal brand. Like that is really huge, I think, at Insperity, because you need to build your personal brand to really garner that trust from your targeted audience, and where they will want to know, well, where do they work? What do they do? Oh, and I always tell them, Cami, do not go straight for the sell. Like, do not just click to connect and then sell them Insperity services. Connect with them, follow them, engage with their content. If they start posting about family and family pictures or vacations, maybe you can start there, make it more personal before you go straight into the sell.
Yeah, it's like I always call it the hive. Like you want to build a beehive, that attracts people. Like it has the pheromones that are attracting them in, right? And so I think that that's something that is really needed. So I appreciate what you guys are doing with the sales team. I think that's amazing. And go ahead.
No, I really, to illustrate what Cynthia just shared with you, this is timely. So, yesterday we learned about one of our sales executives who someone had tapped into him about an opportunity to create an article to be shared on LinkedIn. And automatically, they're tapping into us, our in-house agency, for guidance with that. But what was especially telling is that when Cynthia, because to her point, she does always emphasize, interject your own personality into it, of course, within the constraints of what our voice, the company's voice is, but also give some of your personality. And his response was, oh goodness, well, you know what? Tap into the marketing writers because they know my voice better than I do.
That's interesting.
So,
that was a nice compliment, really.
Exactly.
And so you're helping them to develop articles for their LinkedIn posts, right? Like for their LinkedIn, the blog post, live thought leadership side. So I think that's really critical too. That we haven't even once, we a little bit talked about your business page, but how your business page is working with personal profiles. That's probably the most critical, right?
It is. And we always try to find ways to make sure that their audience is reading this LinkedIn blog post, then we need to make sure that they go back to the Insperity profile page, right? Connect with us, follow us, go read the blogs on the actual website. You may want to learn about this executive and learn more about what they do, but our main, of course, goal is for them to want to learn more about Insperity itself, what we offer, and why his role is so critical to the organization.
Yeah, that's great. And that they're so interactive with you and willing to move in that direction. From an executive perspective, that's the hardest part, right? Getting the executive to actually be bought into a LinkedIn. They're like, that's a waste of my time generally. So really interesting. Okay, good. So kind of like digging into that a little bit more, since we're talking about sales, let's go into paid a little bit. Advertising. So I'm assuming most of you they're all on a paid plan for LinkedIn as Navigator, right? Is that number one?
Yes. So when they are onboarded in the sales organization, our sales people are automatically given a LinkedIn Navigator profile, and that's really important. So my social media team even has one because we wanted to make sure that we fully understood it and understood how the sales organization is utilizing it in a way that we can then come in and support what they're doing on the social component of it all. But LinkedIn Navigator is what they're currently using, and it's something that I think it's very much needed as part of the overall strategy on the social space that we're providing for them.
So what does it do for you, LinkedIn Navigator? Like, I'm just thinking out loud because some of the people in this room aren't sales people per se. Like, can you tell us, like, from your point of view, since you're using it? Because I definitely don't have it. So I'm just wondering, why? What would be the sales proposition for having that?
Oh, it really does help you connect with the targeted audiences that you're looking for in the sales process. It's more than just having a LinkedIn profile or even like the premier profiles, right? It's a little bit more niche in that way, where you can really target the decision makers in the industry that you're working in. And by targeting them in a way that will help you kind of just identify who they are, figure out ways to connect with them, not be too salesy, right?
Can you make lists of them in there?
Yes, you can. It can get really, it can get really granular in regards to how specific you want to utilize it. But in the training, that is part of the training. They learn how to utilize it so that they can make sure that they are optimizing on the sales that they are wanting to create for the company and really themselves. And then just connections, right? It helps with just building your profile on LinkedIn. The more connections you have, the more credible you look. And that's kind of the direction that we want to go with them too in their personal branding.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. I'm over 500. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the threshold.
Did you have something to add there? No. Okay, cool. So I want to ask a question about obstacles, and I start thinking of your questions out here. So if you have questions about how you should be utilizing this, but a couple of things. I want to talk about obstacles, but first of all, your profile, your company profile. How do you grow that? How do you make people go there? I found it's hard to get people to go to the profile. They want to come look at you as a person on LinkedIn. So for example, we do have a Houston Social Media Breakfast LinkedIn page. So if you just type that in, please follow us. We do have jobs there that we are posting. If you have a job, there's a job link and you can put there who you're looking for. A couple of things like that, but it's hard to get people to, I don't know, just I'd like to hear what you do.
Yeah, so something that's big in our strategy is cross promotion, and that's whether you're working with internal groups in the organization that you're in, or partners or clients. A lot of the times what we do with our partners is we build these toolkits and these guides. We're like, hey, make sure you're following us. We're following you. And if it's an event that we're going to be at, then we'll figure out ways that we're cross promoting what they're doing. But we also encourage them to cross promote what we're doing on our channels so we can get more eyeballs, right? Essentially, more views, more people wanting to follow, and also just continue to learn about us as Insperity. Another thing which I mentioned earlier today was the actual creative in the content that copy is really important, as we all know. It's kind of where it gets people just tied into the actual reading of the post. But creative has become really important for my team at Insperity. The graphics that we're currently using need to be enticing enough for people not to only engage and like that post and scroll up, but click on it and then go into the actual page because they want to learn who we are and what we do. We are trying to find ways that we can be more innovative, even in the other spaces like Instagram. You would think HR, PO, and Instagram. Why? Well, no, we can be fun. We're HR. But how can we repurpose what we're doing on the LinkedIn channels so that, our Instagram audience, which skews younger, right? And the reason we did Instagram was because, of course, it not only do they skew younger, but also business owners are skewing younger. But anyways, just the content and the creative and the design behind it. I always tell my team, like, yes, we want to see the engagement, the likes, the reactions, the reshares, the reposts. But our biggest goal is to get people back to the page because I want them to follow us and then click on the bio to go see what we do.
So the ready to grow, right? That's what ready
for social.
Ready for social. That they can go there and find your posts on there and share them from there, what does it do?
No. So we actually have the Ready for Social post already developed and created for our teams to go and post it themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have them share any of your posts from your page?
And
so how do you get them to do that?
So actually from the Ready for Social team too, what we've done is a lot of our content buckets include Insperity buckets. So whether it's news share, award recognition, client testimonials, we ask for them to, really be involved in sharing out whatever we're creating for the company. But as far as, resharing what we're currently posting, which, by the way, our employees are so highly engaged on our social channel.
That's awesome.
That's
good.
Yeah, and they are, and they are employees, but when they reshare, just remember that we are not, connected with their connections. So when they're resharing, people are wanting probably to know more about what we're doing. I mean, we had a great post in January when we had a conference, and we announced that we're top 100 places to work at Glassdoor.
Yay!
Thank you. We were so
and
excited.
Glassdoor is a whole other topic.
Oh, that's another topic.
Yeah.
But we were able to announce it on the social channels. Oh my gosh, we had over 100 reshares, over
That's
400
amazing.
engagements. It was the COO, of Insperity that was announcing it on stage, and we had great pictures, great imagery, great copy, great engagements, and I just, over 100 reshares said a lot to us, because yes, it was probably employees when you
For
go and
sure.
look to see who it is, but that's 100 employees that shared it to their network.
But that's them telling, like, some employees, they won't tell you when you do poorly. They just won't say anything at all. Right? I mean, you just go to ground. I mean, if you're an employee, you're like, you just go to ground. And that makes sense. Okay, cool. Oh, repeat audience questions on your mic. Yes, I will do that. I got a note. So cool. So we are now at the audience questioning part of this. Any questions in the room right now? Yes, Russ.
Well, I want to go back to a topic that you alluded to earlier, Cammie, and that was messenger etiquette and what not to do and how to manage that.
Okay.
With employees and just communication.
Etiquette on LinkedIn, is that what you're asking about? Like in the DM type of, okay. So the question was, for those of you who are listening at home, what is the etiquette that you teach your salespeople or people to use in the direct messaging app on LinkedIn?
Yeah, great question. So we recommend that they not go directly to start selling the services in direct messaging. We recommend that they actually make the connection first with the prospect, follow them for a couple of days or maybe a couple of weeks, engage with their content, whether you're liking, resharing, or actually in the comments so they can see your name. Or if they are posting something that's maybe challenging in the HR space, take that opportunity, maybe write a comment, say, hey, can we, I'll take this offline and I can DM you. And just kind of make that connection and personalize the relationship a little bit more before going into the sell tactic, because like Cammie said, you end up deleting it, right? With the minute you see it.
And unfollow them and never listen to them again. I mean, or even if you don't, you're just like, so do you do that with Sales Navigator? I'm just digging into that a bit. So can they keep track of those relationships and check on those relationships by using Sales Navigator more easily?
They can. And
is there a feed for that?
I'm not sure. That's a great question.
That'd be cool.
But for the most part, I mean, you can do it all organically from your own channels. If you don't have Sales Navigator and you're not, purchasing that just yet for your organization or your sales teams, organically, this can all be done too, with no issue.
Yeah, you can keep a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you have any guidelines that help people determine someone's personality type and how they should respond to, or check whether they're warm or cold?
Okay. Is there any guidelines for where the prospect is in the sales process? I guess that's probably the question, and whether they're warm or cold, whether they're
and the type of person that
and
you're
the
talking to.
oh, and do okay. So do you teach them what the type of person is that they are, and use different ways of approaching people? Like what's your training on that?
Yeah. So what we usually do is we make sure that they are advised on, like I said, right, the type of content that this person is posting is really important. As you may all know now, LinkedIn has become more than just a resume tracker, right? You see more and more people, and we recommend this even with our executives, to post more personal things. Post about your career and your job, post about your colleagues, post about anything that you're doing as hobbies or volunteer work. But you will know a lot from what they're posting on a day-to-day basis. If they are somebody that doesn't post a lot, then it means that they're not as active on LinkedIn as others that may actually welcome your engagement and your messages. Making sure that you understand their personality, quote unquote, on LinkedIn profiles and their posting is really important. You don't want to go straight into, of course, the sales tactic, right? And go into the sales, but you also don't want to just automatically start commenting on their kids if you've never had any conversations with them in the past.
They're like creepy.
Yes.
Very creepy.
But
Very
it's going to
creepy.
just really important to be observant on the actual content they're posting. And that will give you a, whether it's, okay, I can move in now or just wait a little bit longer.
Mhm.
And to piggyback on Cynthia, like the cues and really getting a feel for their personality. In addition to that, our sales force all go through, you may have heard of it, DISC training, DISC
Oh, yes.
personality.
Yeah.
And so,
DISC.
once to Cynthia's point, that's the foundation, because
Mhm.
if you're not picking up on those social cues,
Mhm.
then no amount of training in the world is going to help you, right? But once you've built and established that connection and that relationship, that's where that training comes in really handy to best determine, what's the best form of communication for this person.
And that's a person.
probably, or
DISC is
what-
like, I'm just gonna say this
It's a
for
yeah.
those who don't know. It's a personality kind of gauge. Like,
Yes.
there's a bunch of them
High
out there.
level,
There's a bunch
yes.
of them out there, but this is one that kind of helps
Exactly.
with
Yeah.
that. It makes
So-
sense. Yeah. Any other? Yes.
So I have a question about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I have purchased it. I've purchased it a couple times, but I'm not using it effectively. Do you have any tips on how to narrow down who the decision makers are in your target organization?
Okay, so I'm going to repeat the question. So how do you narrow down the decision makers on LinkedIn Navigator? How do you use it more effectively?
Yes. So for Insperity, for example, we always try to figure out, I feel like in the HR space, there's so many different types of decision makers. But really it's within your industry is identifying who are the ones that maybe accepted a message or a comment or an engagement from you, and those that did not, right? So maybe it wasn't the CEO that you initially thought, and you need to, maybe go a couple levels down. So it's really just testing, which I think social is big on that. A/B testing is so big, even on LinkedIn Navigator, making sure that, when we put ads out, for example, there are times where some ads are not getting any play because of the target audience that we thought would actually come back to follow the lead.
Yeah, and but I didn't ask this question, but the budget on ads, like, so you do paid advertising more for whatever, I mean, sales, right?
Mhm.
So, like, how do you kind of allocate that budget?
So it really depends on the content that we want to put out. We, as Dana mentioned earlier, we are proactive right in the editorial content calendars that we're
Mhm.
creating. So it depends on do we want to promote an ebook or a magazine, an electronic magazine that talks about Great Resignation or quiet quitting. Then we want to put money behind that. And then who would we be targeting for those specific topics? So being really specific to the content, and then also just who you're targeting will change sometimes week to week, to be quite honest.
Is there like a minimum budget, like for LinkedIn? It used to be LinkedIn and ads were super expensive, and they are still more than, like, say, a Meta, Facebook,
Yeah.
Instagram kind of spend. So, like, what is the minimum that you can spend and get? Like, can you spend 200 or 150? I mean, on Meta, you can put out a $50 ad and get, some pretty good connection. No?
Yeah,
Yes,
and
maybe.
I think for LinkedIn, the testing is really important. So I've even worked with clients in the past before Insperity where it was, $500 can get you where you need to get to be. $1,000 is obviously a little bit better. But the higher you go, the more opportunities you do have to get those leads that you were really going after. So I would just test it with the budget and then see if you need to go up or go down. And also the platform.
Mhm.
Maybe you thought LinkedIn was where you needed to be, but maybe your audience is on Facebook, and maybe that's where you need to spend your money instead of one of the others. Or like some of my closest friends call the Meta twins, Instagram and Facebook, versus LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So it's really just identifying the right audience,
Meta
and
twin.
the right audience and the right content to promote.
Cool. Are there any online questions?
Yes. Does your comms team control or review each item that your sales employees post on your LinkedIn channel, other social media channels, and blogs to ensure that they are on topic and do not create any liability to the company?
Okay, that's a really good question. So the question was, do you monitor what the sales team members put on their social media platforms? Are you watching them all the time? And if so, how? And like, and you're making sure they're on brand, that they're not doing anything problematic. Yeah.
Yeah, great question. So Ready for Social helps us a little bit with that, right? So the Ready for Social content is content that we've already pre-approved and they can automatically go out for them. But of course, we have the others that want to do their own posts, which we recommend that they do. So unless they tag Insperity or use our hashtags, most of the time we won't see it. I'm also a big advocate of not wanting to manage 100% what they're putting out. Now, if legal gets to with something that they shouldn't have been doing, it will, yeah, we're gonna know, and it'll come our way. But for the most part, I think, we have social media policy that we have built. We share
Yes,
that in
the policy.
the training is really important where they know this policy exists. They know where to find it. They know, that needs to be followed. And if we do see something that is, a little bit, not to where we want it to be with our brand and our guidelines, then we will connect with them. And I won't necessarily tell them to delete what they're doing, but maybe just give them feedback on, hey, this is why I don't think this would be working, but this is what you can do next time. Because they don't know. A lot of the times,
Redirect.
yeah,
It's
redirect.
like, yeah.
They don't know. And really, a lot of them are really open to learning because they want their content to work to garner that sale.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Dana. But I just wanted to say there's also some legal things around that too, because there's a lot of case law where you cannot tell an employee not to post about your
True.
company. You can definitely have a guidelines, and you can discipline them internally, but there's a fine line there. Legal knows it better, but there's been case law around this. Go ahead.
Absolutely. No, I just wanted to add to that. That's where, in my opinion, creating a very solid brand guide with specific, detailed editorial guidelines. I feel like that's been a big part of our ability to get buy-in from sales folks, from executives, employees in general, is the work that we've put into that brand guide, specifically in this case with content, the editorial guidelines, which include very in-depth legal guidelines with examples of what not to say. You might say this instead. And then making those available as a resource to the entire company.
It's like a shared link.
It
but
is. It's an online brand. In fact, shameless plug again, but that brand guide has won awards too, because it is very thorough. It's very in-depth. And then I'm going to give a nod to our comms team that does our internal communications right off the bat, because they've done a phenomenal job of utilizing our company intranet to help make that awareness of, you've got a fantastic resource at your disposal here. We need to all be using it. And that's been an internal campaign of its own of sorts, but it's working.
Yeah, we call that the playbook, but it's the same. Exactly. Having something like that is really important, because you can't move forward without it if you have a big organization. So I think it's laudable that you guys put that together. Congratulations. Big obstacles. Do you have big obstacles that you've had to overcome that you feel like you've kind of summited them, especially on social media side? Often you have to convince people. So tell me.
Yeah. I mean, we're still constantly educating, I think,
Always.
at the organization, right? We're 37 years old now. April was our birthday.
That's right.
Happy birthday.
But for the most part, the organization understands how social media is evolving. I love that the sales organization has adopted, what we want to do in the social selling space. So that gives big kudos to our team in regards to how we want to continue to manage that. But I think education on why social, why LinkedIn, how you can really promote and elevate the brand on social media, and then promoting yourself. Education is just something that I continue to do, I think, on a day-to-day basis. And, identifying ways that we can continue to just have candid conversations on why social media is so important and how can that be part of just the overall marketing strategy. We have a lot of, in the marketing group, a lot of course, believers in what we do. And then if we are talking to executives, they understand it too. and they just want to make sure that, they're utilizing it in the best way possible so that they are being the biggest advocate for Insperity. Employees and executives are the biggest advocates for your own organization, I feel.
I agree.
And, as any organization grows, the challenges that increase with that growth are preventing silos, ensuring that communication and alignment is happening across teams, across business units. And so I think to me, that's been, probably a challenge that will continue to be a challenge just because we're a pretty fast growth organization, and any organization that is growing, you've just got to be really proactive and intentional about making sure that, the communication is there, you break down those silos, and you make those resources available to everyone.
I think that's great. And I'm going to actually end that there because we are at like almost the time. And so I want to thank both of you for being here so much. If there's any other questions in the audience, I will send them to you. Maybe you will answer them. You'd be okay with doing that? Okay, great.
Connect with us on
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
please do. So that's the next thing. So we will ask that you do connect with them right away. And it's Insperity, Insperity. And they're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Even if you love Twitter, they're still there. And did I say I hate Twitter? No, I didn't. I love Twitter. I love it. They took away my blue check mark this week. It's been fun. Yeah, no, you have to pay for it now. So, and it's fine. It's all good. Yes. Now, even if you've had the check mark forever, they now will take it away from you, and now you have to pay, which I'm salty about. So I'm not giving him my money right now. I'm going to go by Austin and say, no, Mr. Musk. I know you need to make your 40 million back, but our billion, I'm not one of those persons. Anyway, sorry. Can you tell I'm salty? Okay, great. So Insperity, Insperity.
Which is a combination of inspiration and prosperity.
Oh, put that there so they can hear that. Oh.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Cammie, but
okay.
That's so to help you remember the name, a little association. Insperity is a hybrid of inspiration and prosperity.
And if you are a medium to large size business, they are looking to help you. And even small business, they have a small business, medium business, and large business thing on their website. So go check them out and see if maybe you're a business owner. That'd be great. One other thing I wanted to say is, I know you guys have a big team, and as you get bigger, you silo. But if you're a small person out there, have hope. Absolutely. And by the way, hire people to help you. Like, use Upwork, use whatever you need to do to make sure that you're getting help with what you're doing. So don't go it alone. Come to Social Media Breakfast. Yes. We have like a lot of resources, all of that stuff. And in fact, next month, we are going to be doing the LinkedIn Profile Refresh Workshop. And we'll be doing that here at Impact Hub. It will not be live streamed because you're going to need to come with your laptop and actually work. That's the idea. You come and we'll actually leave, and we'll help you polish up your LinkedIn profile. Tori's going to bring her awesome camera. And if you just don't have a very good headshot, she will take one for you right there, then and there. And so there's no reason to have friends. Do not let friends have terrible headshots on LinkedIn. Selfies. Yeah. If this is your headshot, come on out. I've been guilty. I'm not going to, yeah. I mean, you might want to go get a really cool one and have the whole experience. And I recommend you do, because it's a really awesome thing to get your picture taken in that way. But at least you'll have something really awesome that works. Y'all are providing that. Yeah. Sorry. So so you do have to register, and I think Tori I gave you some in Slack. I gave you the link for this. It's on Eventbrite right now. But if you're in the room, you just, there's a QR code you can scan. Also, I have an announcement. In September, our friend Ann Wynn is putting on a cool new thing called the Day of Caring, Better Together. It is a nonprofit event, I guess you could say, where the nonprofits will all set up like on tables, and then companies will come and talk to the nonprofits, and you guys will have like exchanges of like how you can help them, how they can help you. Like if you have if you're a big company and you do any caring days, or, where you go and do volunteerism or whatever. It would be a way for those companies to connect with that. So amazing thing that she's doing there. We're going to be kind of joining along with her in the promotion of that, and then also, recruiting nonprofits from that to do our gift of guidance in December, which we do here as well. Gift of guidance, we help 10 nonprofits with their social media strategy for the next year. We always are looking for volunteers for that. We're starting to roll on that this year. It's been great. Also, Jennifer Tejada's here, so wave a little. And she's come back from California, and yeah, I'm like, Jennifer. Anyway, so you may see her in my seat sometimes. She's going to be doing some of these. In July she's going to be the So I mean, Social Media Breakfast is a grassroots organization. It is not a Cami Hoyza organization, although I, drag my equipment, and, but Winter is here now, Tori's here. I hope you guys come and utilize it. It's a free resource in Houston. And I just, I need your help. I need your help to make it work. I need your help to keep it working. We've been doing it for 13 years. I'd like to do it for more. So we're looking for new, fresh blood, new ideas. I'm open. So get in touch with me. If you're interested in being a sponsor, we can talk about that too. We could use a little like breakfasty kind of things, rolls or whatever, here on the second Friday of every month. So let me know. So if you hear this and you want to help us out, I would love to talk to you. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming today. And we really appreciated your presence here and your knowledge and your willingness to share. Thanks so much. Give them a hand, guys. Thank you. And we'll be back next month with our workshop. So come on out. Yes.